right. We are live. What's going on, people? I don't know if brother, you there? Uh-oh. Let's try this. We're live. Let's just go into uh let's see if we take off our cameras. Maybe that'll make a difference. Uh-oh. The brother left. All right, no worries. We're going to keep it going, guys, as we hop into the new year. It is January 2nd, 2026. This is Community Beacon. We definitely appreciate you all for checking in each and every week. I think this is going to be an awesome episode. We're headed into this new year. A lot of us have our New Year's resolutions already into effect. Done a lot of reflecting, some inflection, and we're seeing where we're headed to as we continue to move forward. So, on that note, I'm going to put AI Jonah on, and we can start to ground ourselves as we get into this conversation. Hold on, guys.
Yo, check the mic, 1, 2, Beacon is the name. Lights up the city, ain't playing no games. Joel Simmons and Michael Seville, the vision is clear. Dropping knowledge, conquering all of your fear. Beacon, that's the sound of the future. The main hosts are here, they built the whole structure. Community strong, we rise from the ground. The beacon power up, yeah, time to look up.
All right. Brother, you there?
I'm here.
Okay.
Got a delay.
A slight delay. Let me do this and let's see if that helps out a little bit. How about that?
Microphone check, 1, 2, 1, 2.
I hear you.
All right, delay solved.
I hope so. Guys, this Community Beacon, as I said before, we're starting off this new year with a bang. Anytime, I love to look at it this way. Anytime that we have some type of technical difficulty, it's often an awesome show. So if you bear with us through this technical difficulty, I promise. Well, I don't promise, but a lot of things may resonate with you. So just we're here.
We are here.
All right. So of course, on the other side, I'm Mike Seville, Palm Beach Mike, your real estate guy here in northern Palm Beach County. Palm Beach Gardens on up, and I like West Palm. I like Rivera. I'm a little north of Rivera. I've done a lot of business in Rivera. Went to school in Rivera. Shouts out Suncoast High School. And then of course on the other side of the screen, we have my brother from another mother, the Joel Simmons of the Tenacity Foundation. Brother, what is going on?
Yo, microphone check. Man, I'm glad to be here with you again for the Community Beacon. We're rounding out into the very next year, the new year. And I'm glad to be on this stream with you. It was a pleasure being able to see you yesterday live in the flesh, So I'm ready to go, man. I'm ready to go.
All right, brother, let's jump into the episode. This is declaration, affirmation, or negotiation. Tell me, what's on your mind? What's resonating for you?
Yeah, so I like this idea just in thinking about it. I just wanted to have, like an open chat with you about, declaration, affirmations, negotiations. What does it look like when we are stepping into the new year? And So let me frame it up for us a little bit. So there's a thought process that a person should say affirmations every single morning to help them to move towards their goals or become more successful. And I'm definitely not hating on that, right? Not hating on that at all. And there's also a thought process that it's not about the declaration. It's not about the affirmation, but it's actually declaring something, being one with it. And then there's a thought process also, which is probably not thought about too much, but I wanted to insert it into the conversation, which is the negotiation, which is basically when you say an affirmation, I will um, I want to be fit by the end of the year. And that's a loose affirmation right there. Doesn't have a lot of structure to it. Let's say I want to be fit by the end of the year. And or I want to go to the gym 5 times out of the week. That's a little more structured. Still could use some more. And with that being said, when you get ready to go to the gym, your fifth time, you say, well, last night I stayed up too late, or I'm sick, or I can't make it today. Let me go tomorrow. And tomorrow starts the new week. So there's a negotiation process. And so I just wanted to throw these concepts out there and hopefully have like an open dialogue with you and just find out what your thought process was on it and share our conversation with the community.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm hoping that we work through this delay. It sounds like we are so far. So we'll continue with it. Um I it's interesting. Like you mentioned, one of the things you spoke about was the affirmation. And I think at the beginning of my journey and in my experience, this was one of the things that we did. It was almost like it's easy to give somebody that, you know, give somebody that instruction. And even in the way that you said and you framed it was interesting, because that's probably how I did it as well initially, which was I want such and such. So it's really in a place of desire, which is, it's a dope place to be. Desire out in my mind, and probably according to the conscious scale, is higher than apathy. Right? If I was starting to feel some desire towards something, um, it's headed in a certain direction. I'm starting to put some power behind it. And then you mentioned declaration, which I'd love to hear so we can clarify on this. When you say declaring, if you can give me some more context to that or how you're seeing that.
Yeah, 100%. So, declaration, in my frame, it's more of an identity, right?
Mhm.
I am a Bible scholar. I am a preacher. I am a husband. I am a successful businessman. I am. The declarations are the things that I believe to be, right? And I know that there can still be some things that are challenging to people when we start to think about it, but these I am statements are almost as if you're claiming this as an identity, which is a
Mhm.
little bit different from the I want or the desire state and moving more into the identity state and non-emotional. So and that's the way I would frame it right there, right? A declaration, behavior eventually follows because identity demands alignment.
Mm. Say that again.
So with a declaration, behavior eventually follows because identity demands alignment. So like in a declaration, and I don't we may get into it whether or not it is uh, physically or seen as to be true today, but what's first believed in the heart manifests in the real world, or
Hmm.
seen in the mind manifests in the real world. So like that declaration is taking that control over the mind, that agency over the mind, and saying, this is what I am. I do the things that I do because I am who I am. And
Hmm.
those, in that thought process, then it manifests inside of your world. And
Hmm.
so that's what I look at a declaration as being, is being the prompt to the
Right.
manifestation.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting, and yeah. And then we get into the negotiation piece, which is what?
So the negotiation, and I believe that many people live in a negotiation stage of life, right? And the negotiation, it sounds responsible. However, it can create inconsistency. Now, this is simply a conversation point that we can dive into, and maybe this might turn into a 2 or 3 part series. You know, because I believe that these 3 words and what they unpack really could have a dramatic effect on how people reach whatever their aspirations are, or their goals, or the systems that they're creating for themselves in this new year. But negotiations, what they do is they keep options open. And this may even mirror discipline, right? It may mirror discipline in some people's mind. But negotiation keeps options open, or I shouldn't say mirror, but it may be the opposing factor to discipline. And growth requires growth. It requires the pathway of growing, right? Negotiation, it opens up all options. Growth needs that persistency and that consistency. It needs to close some options in order to magnify its growth, especially in specific scenarios, right? If I'm giving an affirmation, I want to be a millionaire, then there's that desire. There may or may not be a way to get there, but it feels good. It's emotional. And a declaration, I declare I am a millionaire. Well, if I declare it, then what are my actions? And so I need to create behaviors that will make what I declare manifest. And negotiation is the process of saying whether or not I will go through the process of becoming.
Okay. I definitely understand
We
that
got a
line of
true podcast feel right now.
I like it. I like it. This is like, so you all aren't seeing my face, like how, 'cause when I'm in a deep state, when I'm in a deep state of thinking and I'm present and because I have to really like allow these concepts in, right? And then my intelligent mind just starts to go in all different kinds of directions. So if you ever watch any of the older podcasts and you see my eyes going different ways, oftentimes I just close my eyes because I'm like, I know it's probably freaking people out. Like, why is he looking this way? But I'm enjoying I'm enjoying this podcast feel. All right, let me get to it because there were some things in there that I get a chance. I guess we get a chance to have a deeper understanding and clarity on it. And I want to stay with the same example. There's a desire. I want to be a millionaire, right? So that goes to we can start affirming that. And then the way it sounds is almost as if there's like a ladder. So then there's this declaration like I am a millionaire, and then that would entail, hopefully there are behaviors, or you have what I'm loving is like a container in which that you can start doing, because a lot of success leaves clues. That's what they say, right? And one day I'm gonna jump into a lot of these different sayings, because some of them I don't necessarily align with anymore. But at the beginning stage, I could see within this framework and this container how we can go from how these things follow. And then I thought it was a banger, which was what I asked you to repeat. You said identity demand, what'd you say? Identity or alignment, identity demands alignment, or alignment demands identity. Which one was it? Just to be clear.
Right. You're talking about a declaration.
Well, you just said it, you just made a statement. And yeah, and that was a part of the declaration, which was identity demands alignment, or alignment. I mean,
Right.
it's almost like
When
you
you
can go either way with it.
declare something, and yeah, identity demands alignment. Like the
Right.
behavior eventually follows the
Okay.
declaration because identity demands alignment.
Okay. Makes sense. And then I can understand that part. Um okay, so here's my I mean, there's a lot of different layers to it. So, I invite everyone to ground themselves from a place of like empowerment and staying within yourself, and um figuring out what's true for you in this way. Uh I'm of the belief that growth doesn't necessarily require the only thing that growth really doesn't require anything. Um you can have strong growth, and I think if I'm going to um make the distinction, is that it requires tension. That tension
Mm.
is, and then this goes into people ground yourself. I'm headed somewhere with this. We have in our minds what's something that's positive or negative, right? Like the positive result and the negative result. There's really nothing to them. They're both the same thing, but there's tension, and the tension is the framework that's created from it. So if I want to grow, then it's like, well, what exactly is growth? Because either way, this thing is happening, whatever it is, right? Some people will say, well, life is always lifing, to use a term that a lot of people say these days. So there's growth happening. Now, is this growth something that is aligned with us, or where we're attuned, really alignment? Is this an alignment with where we want to go? Because some people are growing and they're not growing in the alignment they want to go, because in my humble opinion is that they're in a container, or they're using frameworks that aren't necessarily in alignment with their unique desire, or their unique way that they believe they want to go, which is something that they really get a chance to go. Um, so now when we start talking about something like identity and how to get in line with identity, it's like, well, what's the identity that we want? Because you can essentially go to the grocery store and buy a lotto ticket and become a millionaire. You can be gifted $1 million from a family member, life insurance or something like that. That didn't really require anything of you to do except to be. And I think that I'm, without going too deep into it, there's a whole process. There really is no process, but there's a being and there's a becoming And am I in alignment with whatever it is? And then I would, kind of feel and go into that. Now, let me be honest with you. I would overthink that. And then probably I would have some type of feelings or some type of gut instinct headed in that direction. Make no qualms about it. Just in this explanation, it's a lot of it could be heady, but it's really not, because at the core of me, it's like, I don't necessarily I think there's a being and there's a becoming, and then we're using this framework to kind of describe what that is, both intellectually and then from heartfelt, which I loved what you mentioned earlier, which is like you said something about the heart and then it manifests, right? And I believe if it's, and this is part of alignment and that you have, if it does begin there, um then regardless of whatever the outcome is, it is what it is. But then we get into this negotiation piece, which I think is something that we're always doing. Um, the discipline part would have to come in is when we're negotiating against ourselves. Uh, and then that requires willpower, and I don't think those things last pretty long once you start to negotiate against yourself, right? There's a we say it often, or I hear it in songs and I hear it in people saying, like, I'm at a war within myself. Well, if you're at a war with yourself, it's going to require a lot of discipline and willpower, because, and at the end of the day, you can't win. So, let's jump. I don't know. That was my thought process on it thus far.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I like that. So the negotiation piece, when I thought about it, it wasn't really a contrast or a comparison to the first two. The only ones that in my mind were really that we were doing a contrast and comparing was the affirmation and the declaration. I would tend to agree that there can be a negotiation period in any thought process, in any decision, in any choice. Well, I wouldn't say decision, because I have a belief that when you make a decision, there truly is a negotiation. I suppose there could be an argument for that as well. But then my argument would be, well, is it truly a decision? Negotiation is something else. As a negotiation, I love how you pointed out a person is at war with themselves. And I was thinking about this concept just either earlier today or yesterday. I don't recall who it was, but there was somebody that I was thinking of specifically. And I was thinking about how they were at a war with themselves. And I saw one of those famed pictures or sculptures in the visual aspect of my mind of the archangel Michael fighting, the dragon. And that used to be, 25 years ago, that used to be the thing that really, really touched me. In the standpoint that I'm at right now, it doesn't have the same impact on me, because I'm more of an identity type of individual. I've become an identity type of person. I am a man of identity, right? And firm belief. So that war, that internal struggle, and admittedly, I have still a couple of things that I am working continuously. Maybe that's a all people thing, but nonetheless, the point behind this was that I was visually seeing this fight between, like, the archangel Michael and, the dragon. And before, that used to be like, conceptually, that was me, right? And it isn't anymore, but I understood it. And when you just mentioned how there's a war, it's like, that's what the war is. Like, I just put those two thoughts together while you were speaking it. I was like, that's what the war is all about right there, right? The war is all about whether or not I want to do this or I want to do that, and not ascribing that to an affirmation, but it's like, this is the negotiation. Because if I desire to win, even scripturally, the scripture teaches us that we've already overcome. So we are overcomers, and all things that we desire to overcome, we are overcomers. It was a declaration given by the Lord. So if we haven't overcome, is that because we've chosen to not overcome? And if we've chosen not to overcome, therefore we have not overcome. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, I'm that that's always not confounded me. That was one of the things that I just didn't quite understand. And last year was interesting because last year it was a lot of intellectually attempting to understand where people are coming from, because a lot of things initially didn't resonate for me. But that overcoming thing it's there. I think a lot of this stuff is like whether or not you want to access it or not. Like, I don't believe I'm in a war with myself. There's times when I'm accessing things, here we go. There's times when I'm connected to something or when I'm
Get in there.
disconnected to something. Right? Like, either I'm connected to success or I'm disconnected from success. Either I'm connected to abundance or I'm disconnected from abundance. So, and then there's like an immaturity and a maturity phase of it, right? And immaturity and the maturity stage of it is really it's really information, and whether or not I choose not to accept this information, right? And this is in a heartfelt place, because we'll talk about I'll talk about declaration and even the affirmation. But if I don't really have that feeling or going on in my body, if I don't really believe that, then I can, and I've done it before. And then maybe there's a part of it that allows you to kind of trick your mind, because I think music is that way. Like, you can listen to certain music and you can start to feel in a certain kind of mode, right? I was in the gym and I'm listening to certain music. I'm just like, yeah, I'm getting ready for something. But that happened, it's fleeting moments for me personally, because I'm in such a place of discernment. So I'm like, okay, I got to access this for like my next couple of reps because it's there, right? So it's like it's more of a connection piece. And I would even go into this. And here's the thing, I want to say this: like, there's no right or wrong on this journey, this uniqueness, this unique way. This is just the way that it was introduced to me, was the affirmations, the declarations. And then I'm like, well, there, in my mind, or how I felt about it, was like, there has to be more to it, which is the piece that which kind of what you speak about, whereas that you are overcoming. So you already are. I already am in abundance. Like, I wouldn't even put a number on it because I might be limited myself, right? Or is this metric that I'm using is not the correct metric, which we get a chance to take a look at. Like, is what who was I speaking with today? It was an older guy. And he said, man, he was like, man, we woke up today. Like, that's the, when he spoke about it, he's like, he said, I'm looking at 2026. It's been, I'm a 60s, 70s, 80s guy. And I'm like, how did I even get here? Right. And so having that way and feeling that, and doing it. The only thing that I'm probably not necessarily aligned with is this identity thing. Like, I'm not I've had identities. I've had people attempt to push identities onto me. I've accepted certain people's identities. I've even developed my own identity. And then when, I was just having a laugh with myself a couple of days ago, and I'm just like, what? If this thing didn't occur or this thing wasn't here, like, would I still be here? Now, this is real esoteric and it's spiritual, really. Like, but I am because I am. So anything else that I put on that is something that that I'm accepting. And I can put that hat on, but that doesn't make me me. What makes me me is whatever is going on. I am not my arm. I am not this. I am just, and breath work class is coming. I am this breath, right? Like, I am this, and I can have joy within that. That's me at the core, is just this being. Anything else that puts on top of that, that's just something that we use to communicate with each other, to show that we're probably on the same, we've had similar experiences, or to relate to a tribe or a crowd or a community. But I'm not, I can be in this community, I can be in that community, whatever it is, I am, and I'm going to show up that way. And I have certain things that, are a person from the outside recognizing me would say, okay, well, that person is, he's black or bald. That's what Paul told me. Paul said, "You're bald." I said, "It's your own kids." So, but that's not, who I am. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta laugh at it. He's, these kids are funny as what, but that's not necessary. I am, full stop for me, as far as identity is concerned. And then now we're having conversations. I am showing up in unconditional love. I am showing up as an empowered whatever. And then, from that point on, and this is what I ascribe to, possibly, right? And I'm open for you to for us to have this conversation, so we can, in the space of creating connection, this bond, right? If we, or whatever it is that we're creating at the moment, this present time. So that's kind of where I'm with that.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Right? Because one, I'm not looking for any type of alignment right here, just a conversation. And two, I love the I am statements that you gave. You said they were esoteric, spiritual. And I love that. I think that is something to really consider, right? Especially when I don't want to say so many people, but I have a feeling that there are those that lower a statement like that down to something that is so material. And I know I opened up with some different examples, and they were definitely of a lower base or level. At one point in time, you said, "I am this breath." And I thought that was interesting, right? And it's like, when we start to talk about what I am, just number one, like, when was that statement first used? It was like, according to the history that I read, Moses talking to God. It's like, well, who shall I say sent me? Well, I am that I am. And it's like, I'm all encompassing. There's no breadth. There's no depth. You can't measure what I am. And that's a very interesting statement, because we utilize that statement, which then would essentially be the name of God, to declare. And I'm using that term loosely, as in the people of the world. We use that, and essentially that's using the name of God to claim something to ourselves, right? Almost as a key to a door. And so it's very interesting statement that we are now in that time frame where affirmations and declarations, whether they're good, bad, or somebody has some different type of feeling or thought in referencing those things, I'm up for the discussion. It's not my point. It's just that's where we are right now in this phase in life. Because when I was 10, we didn't talk about I am, affirmations and declarations. When I was 11, when I was 12, when I was 13, it wasn't. I heard some of that stuff in the music, Nas. Oh man, back in my day, I used to love Nas. And one of the songs was If I Ruled the World. Imagine that, And so it's like that was like semi affirmation, right? Not necessarily affirmation, but more leaning towards affirmation, or maybe even a possible declaration, whatever. But it wasn't like space like that. And now these terminologies are being utilized to direct people into particular pathways so that they are able to establish themselves. Like that is a huge change that we can talk about two different words, affirmation, declaration, and people are saying their lives are being changed by utilizing one. And I like what you said earlier, like whether one is better than the other, that is not what we're talking about. I hope everybody in Community Beacon World understands that. It's not even about that, right? It's not about that. It's just the open conversation about, affirmation, declaration. But there's so much power that is now infused into utilizing these to direct pathways, right? It has shortcutted some things for some people somewhere.
Yeah.
Go ahead, bro.
Yeah. I'm just agreeing with you, brother. And that, that is a part of this container structure. Like you mentioned, this 10, 11, and 12 year old you, like and granted, like we didn't have discernment, we're listening to good music. I remember Nipsey Hussle said you put that stuff in there, it's like the medicine in the candy or in the sugar or whatever, right? So it was wrapped in that, but it also moved us in a way. And there's a reason why it moved us in a way back then, the same way that it moves us in a way now. The declarations and it's just a container, right? But you're allowed to be you in that container. And, whether it works for a person and how long it works and whether you want to go deeper. Hey, if you don't necessarily need to go deeper and just what is it? Affirming it does everything for you. Hey, God bless you.
More power.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited for you, right? Because that even goes into like your upbringing, right? That goes into how you relate to things. I think that's awesome. I think when we get to declaring it, if that moves you along your unique pathway, that's even that's awesome, right? If the way that we say that word or the way that word comes out or when you hear it, if that allows you to be at your, at wherever you are in alignment and at your best and in your mind, that, hey, I spoke out this declaration and it did this for me. I think that's awesome. I would also say that, here's a question. Noam Chomsky, is it true? Right. And I think this may be the real uncovering of this conversation to me.
Open it up.
Is this actually true? Right? Are you able to have this and be this regardless? Not all the time, right? We're human. We have our ups and downs or whatever, but ultimately, does it come back when years or months or whatever it is this ultimately true for you? That's my hope for people with the affirmations and with the declarations or whatever journey or path that they're taking, is that it's true for them. Don't it doesn't necessarily need to be true in front of me, like I don't but is it true for you? And once that happens and it speaks through you, then man, I think it's just an exciting, it's a great thing. Is it true for you? Maybe that's the question that you can ask yourself, right? Whatever path it is that you're on, however whatever it is it true for you? And if it is, that's good. I definitely want to hear about it. Talk to me. Send me some DMs, because I love when things are true for other people and we both could be in this trueness of what it is. But if there's a part of it that's bringing you some kind of tension, if there's something, if there's part of it that's saying like, yeah, here's my favorite phrase, and that'll probably be my phrase for the rest of the year. If there's like a I don't know, and I want to grow, because there's the tension, right? I said if growth doesn't really, in my mind, it doesn't necessarily require anything, but if there's a tension, then here's something you get a chance to sit and take a look at. Okay, because it happened to me a lot. Like I was all for the affirmations initially, and I'm like, yeah, and it got me to a certain part, and then there was tension. And then someone was like, "Oh, well, you're not writing your affirmations correctly. It needs to be written this way." This was one of the things, and this is just me searching. This is just me going through and just trying to figure this thing out for my what rings true for me. Oh, you need to write them this way. Okay, did that for a while. That brought me to a certain kind of place in awareness. And then there was like, oh, you need to start to become. This your self concept, what I would call concept, right? This is your you declare this is your self concept, and then just exactly what the brother and I took an 18-month NLP course working on my self concept, right? Which is just exactly what how you described it, brother, or you defined it, with the identity and alignment and the behaviors. Huh. So I did that for a good 18 months, figuring that out, even working on it, and had a lot of growth in that journey, which is, and that was essentially like at a part where I was like managing my my identity. Yeah, the brain is an interesting thing. That's why I'm so excited about how we move forward in the future. And here's a side note. A lot of these VR and was it VR? Is it AR? VR? Virtual reality?
Augmented reality versus virtual.
Yeah, but those things that Meta has and Apple, remember they were real popular maybe a year or so ago, where you put on your face.
Virtual. Oculus.
The Oculus, and Apple had one. It was super expensive.
Yeah.
That you put on your face. Like you can actually, because your brain, you can actually train your brain. And when I saw them come out with that, this is about the same time I was taking this neuro-linguistic programming class. I'm just like, oh my God, like it's going to be so much easier, because now you don't even have to necessarily imagine, what the files that you have in your brain. You could actually go, someone can create a program where you're actually doing these different things. I'd be interested in seeing how that versus this NLP class. We got to remember that a lot of this stuff is like newer sciences, rather. Like we're really starting to mess and deal with these things. But when I saw that, I'm like, oh no, they know something, and they do know something. the Metas and the the Elon, what's Elon, the X's and all the Grok and all this other stuff. Like they did, and what's the Open AI, like they do know stuff. Anyways, I digress. So you can start to manage those different things. I'm going to tell you, in my experience, and This is a part of why this brother on the other side of the screen is so powerful. There's a feeling aspect to it. You know, like he mentioned about it starting in the heart for him and his belief. There, you get a chance to align that for someone super always thinking like me with the mind piece, right? We get to understand what the signals. Remember, part of my principles is that the emotion or feelings are a signal. Well, what exactly is the signal? Right?
Mhm.
And if you're not used to delving into that part of it, especially as a masculine man and in our community and how we believe these things need to happen, it's just like, just repress that thing. I don't know what the heart is talking about. But then if you get into it and say, oh, you get that heart piece and you get to alignment, that's one of the things that at this moment, a lot of that stuff cannot replicate. And then I got another brother, shouts out to Beethoven. We had some dope conversations. Then there's a gut aspect where I see that brother, like he over indexes on that to me, right? This is some of the things that I pull out of him. So when I come to like Joel or I go to Beethoven, and in my mind, I'm super over intellectualizing certain things. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm really using them as a mirror, brother. Forgive me. You're useful. So I get to use you. Oh, I get to look at, okay, this is the heart. Okay, that could be what the heart is saying. This could be leading me, whatever. Beethoven, okay, this is the gut feeling that I have. And I get to actually put all those things together for this alignment because you can, if we can over index on any of these different things and not necessarily be in alignment. You're right. Intelligently, I can trick myself. There's actually research that shows that
Mm.
super intelligent people can trick themselves into believing something that's if I brought it to Joe would be like, yeah, brother, that's not true. And I could rationalize to the point. And I don't know if anybody who has messed with Chat GPT or any one of these engines, they do it too. Like you can tell, like there's super intelligent people who are making this stuff because I'll even see the chat do something to where it over intellectualizes something. So if you get a chance to kind of get into alignment with these things, this heart, this gut, this intellectual side of things, and like I said before, in regards to us repressing certain things or rejecting certain things or not wanting to feel certain things because you may not necessarily have been socialized to do those things, it can make a huge difference in how we move forward. It can make a huge difference. And so that's kind of where I'm at with that. What's your thoughts, bro?
Bro, that was dope. Gosh, man, I wish you had chopped it up a little bit more. There was way too much that I could even attempt to. I took a few notes, just some things that just stuck out. But man, this is, I don't know what it is. It may be because we're not actually like looking at each other on the screen, and it feels more like a telephone conversation. But this is, it definitely feels like, that old telephone, call, because all you have, there's no visual acuity that we can possess right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's all auditorial, and we have to take it into the heart, into the mind, and make our responses based off of that. But there's no visual cues, and visual cues can be misleading. They can be misleading. They can be. They're good.
As you said that, here's a quick experiment that you all can do. I'm telling you, this is crazy. And hopefully you find someone who you are, because I recently did it and I'm just like, this is insane. If you find someone you trust and you can be vulnerable with, whatever the case may be. Here's a quick thing, you and your partner, you and a friend, whatever it is, and look at each other and have the other person guess for like a good 3 to 4 minutes. Guess what the other person is thinking. And then, you switch sides and then compare notes after that. So, and then you can kind of get this is that what you just mentioned, brother. Sometimes that visual, what did you call it? The visual expression,
Acuity.
yeah, can essentially
Be misleading.
mislead you. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, all of the senses can be misleading.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, all of them can be misleading, and I think that touches on what you've mentioned so many times about emotions being signals. Like senses are there for reasons. They are signals. They signal. They teach us something. They tell us something's going on. When you smell what we have decided is what smoke smells like, we believe that there's something on fire. Right? It's a signal. When we see certain colors like a red light, we believe that it means that we should stop. And then all of these signals have been programmed, right? They've all been programmed. We've been programmed to believe that these signals mean what they mean. If we were to go to another planet, and on another planet they had every single thing exactly like we have, only they changed the signals, how confused would we be? If you drove up to a light and the light turned blue, what would you do? Oh man, what if you smelt something like an apple pie and they said that was smoke? They said, "Oh, smoke." You said, "I'm running. There's a fire." But they called it apple pie. It would just completely mess our brains up. And that just goes to show you that the narrative that we learn is so strong. We're all programmed. No matter how we try to get out of the programming, we are still in the programming, just like the Matrix.
Let me that part, even running that experiment. Think about this. Think about it just like how you mentioned it, brother. If I'm in and this is where seeking clarity can change your whole your entire life, because that's essentially what it is. Imagine that you and the person that you're in conversation, or even yourself, you could do it to yourself. I would want to be guided when I'm doing it with myself, because like I said, I can trick myself. But let's just say I'm in connection with someone else. If I get into if I come from a place of curiosity or wonder, is what this guy spoke. Shouts out to Joe Hudson. If I come from a place of curiosity, as opposed to a place from knowing, what could come out of that? Because each of us have naturally there's patterns, right, brother? If we're both from the same culture, from the same household, and however, even within that, the experience and how we relate to the experience can be different.
Right.
So you could have been with somebody for, your brother for 10, 15 years. Who knows what happened within that 15 years when you're not around, because you're not around him 24 hours a day. So he can relate or see something differently. And instead of assuming, we can question that assumption by asking a clarity question. Think about the deeper that connection will be. Think about what you all could create in the form of a relationship if we asked a deeper question. Something as simple as, what do you mean by that?
Yeah.
How did you get to that? Because and like I said, hopefully it's someone, because especially initially it's weird, but how did you get there? And maybe you preface it not from a place of judgment. I'm just curious. Right. It probably would also help if the person who you were talking to was, they love themselves. That helps. But sometimes
even the question that you just asked, that's like part of the programming too, because like, for instance, yourself, myself, if you were to ask me that, I would understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
I would. But how many people right now would not even they may take that as an offense. It's like the programming is so deep. What
Well, and this is why I think this is what happens when you and I have these conversations for the past 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
because initially it could just, I could leave from a conversation with you and feel a certain kind of way about it. Right? Like we could feel
Likewise.
if we don't gain clarity from the questions. How did you get there, brother? You know what I mean? And the next thing is not to necessarily take it personally.
Right.
Another book, if you guys want to read a dope book, The Four Agreements, very
A
short.
great book.
Yeah, very, very short read. You could do it probably in the afternoon if you're like that. Listen to it, read it, whatever. But one of the agreements in there is like, don't take things personally. And it's hard because there's a part of us that we probably haven't really processed or you know, I don't even want to use the word healed, but it hasn't revealed itself during the self exploration that we're doing. So yeah, and I used to tell people this, and I love it. I say, listen, tell me what you got to tell me. I might be upset for about a couple hours, but I'm gonna get over it. Heck, even if it takes me a day or two, you know, maybe, and I've learned to shorten the gap. But let's just say there's something that you did. Now, I'm not gonna get over it if you're attempting to tell me how to feel. Now we got an issue because I don't want anybody telling me how I should feel. But I will get over it. That, and a part of that is like abundance and so on and so forth, and just the work that we're doing. I want to get back to that part. With the work that we're doing, and and we've been saying this for a long time, this is the work that we should be doing within our life, right? And allowing the other person, if another person is involved, to also have that for themselves, because they're unique individuals as well.
There it is right there. Now you opened up something right there, right? Because that first part is, okay, this is me and the work I'm doing. And I would absolutely say the work that we're doing, right? This is me. Your statement of you was the same statement of me in that case, right? And it's like, this is what I've been doing. I'm gonna personalize it. This is what I've been doing, right? I've been working on myself so that I could be able to bear whatever it is that you want to say, so that we can get to that point where we can become aligned, or where we can disengage. Whatever this pathway is going to lead to, we can get there, because if that's what we need to do is get there, I'm going to help facilitate it in the best way possible. Now, on the other hand, it's like the other person, giving somebody the space to be able to do that also is a completely different talent.
Mm.
They are not the same. That's like somebody shooting a basketball, right? They're great at the basketball game, but they can't teach nobody else how to play.
That's big.
So when we start thinking about some of these things, it's like, now I love Michael Jordan. Oh man, I grew up nothing but Michael Jordan. He is the GOAT. I'm putting it out there. I know somebody out there might want to disagree with me, and they want to call all these other people. I'm just saying, he's the GOAT of basketball in my book. And like my brother just said, you can't make me change my mind, so don't try. But Michael Jordan has never been able to raise a basketball team to the height of his level. Now, this is Mike. If you hear this, no shots fired, buddy. No shots fired. None. None. I don't mean it that way. Let me clarify. I don't mean it that way.
When Mike says, and I took that person.
Mike over there right now, he's like, if I ever see that guy right there.
let me say something in that part, because I'm going to tell you what. He never took a specific, when he wasn't playing anyways, right? He could, because a lot of this, what makes him so one of the greatest is because of the way he would will himself, into doing these things. Like a lot of his teammates didn't like him, or they talk about as a player or whatever, because of the way that he would will them into doing things that they probably wouldn't do without him. Right? I would imagine that's a lot of that. It takes a lot. Right? Think about Allen Iverson was similar too. Like he would will Allen Iverson willed a team to the playoffs. He didn't win, but he willed a team. LeBron's done it plenty of times. There's certain of these people who kind of will their way onto something, right? And what likability or whatever. Like some people tend to force it. Like there's people who come out and say they didn't like Kobe, right? Teammates. There's teammates, even though LeBron seems to be a friendly person, there's teammates who don't like LeBron, right? Because there's a lot of force that comes with that. So specifically in basketball, what I'm hearing you say was when he owned the team, what was it, the Bobcats at one point, I think is the team that he owned before he sold it. But then he went over to NASCAR, which is a totally different game or sport. And I don't know if you kept up with it. He's changed that to where it was one way for years. Even now, the owner, I think it's the owner's son now, who's old. He's got to be he looks like he's in the 70s or 80s. And they just had a court case. And I was like, oh, they let Michael in thinking one thing. They didn't understand that he's really shrewd in his approach to business, to where now they have to allow a certain amount of money to be made for each team. So he may not necessarily have been, which we've known him for, is basketball, but above being just a basketball player, he's a shrewd business person that changes the way that the game is played. He went to a different game and played it a different way. But anyway, I thought that was interesting that you brought the brother up.
Yeah, well, he suffered some loss with the Washington Wizards, and then he went to Charlotte. But I agree, he's brilliant, and so I'm glad you went the way you went. So Mike,
leave him alone, Mike.
That we great job, Mike. Super fan. Not really. I'm not really a fan of much of anything except for my Lord, and my God. And I'm a fan of myself, I'm a fan of my friends, So if you really want to know, I will be happy to wear Mike's t-shirt. All right. If he give me a hat, I will wear that hat. If the Heat, which is the team that I like, if they give me a hat, I may wear it once or twice. So if I'm at a Heat basketball game, or if I'm sitting at the house with my family and we decide that's what we're going to do, but I would much rather wear my own hat, or I would wear Mike's hat or Beethoven's hat or Lou's hat. I'll do that. Because I'm a fan of people that I know, that I love, and that have supported me. That's who I'm a fan of. So no offense, Mike. That just sent me down a whole nother way. But listen, that's like a non-negotiable for me at this level in my life. Like, I'm not chasing somebody else, right? And getting back to that core message that we had started off with, declaration and affirmation. One of the things that you said earlier was so huge, was managing my identity. And I thought that was a pretty impactful statement. Like, I immediately took that out and had to write that down, because that's a very large statement. And it's not something that I don't think that you would hear people say that. Yeah, y'all hear me out there in the community beacon world. That is not something that people say. You're not going to put in managing my identity in YouTube and find, 100 videos on managing identity. It's not going to show up. So you're definitely not going to find thousands, right? But this is a very real thing. Very real. And it's one of those things that is not conceptual. In other words, people don't think about it. And Mike being like the analytic type of individual who is well versed in 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 the language of knowledge. You're well versed in the language of knowledge, all knowledge, well versed, right? And it's like you utilize the words that you have to be able to describe what that looked like. And that was a heavy hitter. And somebody probably missed that, but they are going in that direction or sitting in that seat right now, managing their identity. And you also stated that during the 18-month phase of life, you were going deep into the understanding this, man. And shoot, when we start talking about declarations and affirmations, all of that stuff and negotiation, all of that stuff is wrapped up right inside that one statement. That was heavy, Mike. Yeah, I don't know if you want to speak more to that, but that was heavy, man. You know, like the place that you brought that from and the mindset that you had during that phase, during that time, that was a heavy hitter. Somebody needed to hear that.
Yeah, and I absolutely appreciate that, brother. This is a heavy conversation. And I think a lot we're saying these things, right? Because it is because there's this new year, new me mentality at this point, which I'm all for.
Yeah.
Right. Although the gym wasn't as crowded as I thought it was going to be. Like I thought,
It was crowded when I got there the second time.
I guess I'm just going at the right time. So I appreciate that. I just didn't. I was able to get to almost every machine. I almost felt like it wasn't that many people in there. So get there a little bit earlier, brother. If it was,
yeah, they all showed up when I was there. I was like, "What are you doing here? Get out of my space!"
They came to see you. They came to see you. They put the call out. They said, Joe just got here, and everybody jumped in the. They came to see you on the first. They definitely didn't come to see me. So, but we're at that point where we're just like, it's new year, new me. I would invite people to understand, to try to see, like, what does that mean to you? Like, if we can sit like real and see that, and what does that, and what are you saying about, to me? I'm a speak on this. Like, what is it saying about yourself? A new year, a new me. New year. That's an accurate statement. New me. And then almost, like, what is that saying to you? Does that mean that there was something wrong with the old you? Or does it could also mean, this is, I turned 43. This is Mike 4.3.
Upgrade.
Okay. For me, that resonates a little bit for me. So with this Mike 4.3, what benefits and features would I add to it if it were like
man, come on now, Mike. Come on now, man. Come on, break the bank now. Go ahead.
Yeah. But what this is what resonates for me, right? At the moment where I'm at, it's like, okay, it's what benefits, what features do I want, right? Then we got a chance to reflect on it, whatever, because I don't really think the old me was anything wrong with it. I would do 2025. I would do 2025 the same way all over again if I could. Right? I don't want to throw it away. There was so much growth. There were so many things, and a lot of that came from, Mike 4.0, Mike 3.9, all those lessons that were learned up until this point. I get to add those things, those benefits, those features. You may call them behaviors. You may call them, it could just be an exploration of oneself, because you already have overcome, the brother spoke about being overcomer. You've overcome. It is what it is. And so we get a chance to kind of witness ourselves and saying, okay, am I in alignment? Am I in attunement with whatever it is? Okay, I'm being Mike. And then the 4.3 version is the becoming, and the becoming are, and as soon as you realize the becoming, you kind of are. And I'm still on this unique journey of doing this thing. There's no right or wrong to it. All there is iterations, there's explorations, there's experiments. There's things that you can sit and say, does this sit right with my heart, with my body, with my soul, with my stomach? Like, is this what it is? And then go forward with it, right? Let's not just have that empty platitude of new year, new me. Once again, the accurate part is that it is a new year. What sits right with you as far as me? New year, me. Oh, is it growth minded? Okay, what does that look like? As we go through and you have your goals, and you go through your goals that you're setting, or you have yet to set, or you've already set, and you're projecting into the future. What if I have that now? What is my way of being? And then, because and a lot of this comes with the wants. Now, when we start talking about that affirmation, I'm going to break down this wanting portion of it. This is coming to mind, is that below every want is a need. So when you say, I want something, and if you have it, what does that give you? Who are you? What need does this fulfill for you? Right? This is in helping in to figure out what that goal is. And then this is the declaration is kind of almost like your need. It's like, this is now, okay. This is, I am this already. All I have to do is show up being whatever it is. And we brought up negotiation, so I don't want to leave that out. Because I think we're human, so we're always negotiating something, especially like one of the key concepts that the brother broke down and spoke about is the socialization. You have been socialized to be, and it's not because anybody wants ill for you. Oftentimes it's because people love you so much. Like, I love you so much, and I don't want to see you hurt, because I had a feeling on that journey, so I don't want that same thing for you. However, I don't know if that's more control than love, but it's a feeling that we have. So this is not to blame anybody. Yeah, it's not to blame anybody. This is not the blame game. This is, oh, I can see that. Now I get a chance to chart my own path, however that is, in the unique way that it has this way, right? And the person who really, really loves you is going to be proud of you anyways.
Yeah.
We may not want to see it. Right. Paul fell out real quick, fell out of the swing the other day. So we're at the park. He's swinging higher. I'm not going high. I'm not pushing him high enough, and I'm not pushing him fast enough. And so I'm pushing him, and then he made an adjustment in the chair as I pushed him, and then he jumped out and he fell. And there was some other kids that were there, and I seen the parents like, oh my God, I love this. It was the grandparents. So the grandparents are overly, because they had a 2-year-old. Shouts out to my neighbor. They're going back to New Zealand today, actually. So wish them a safe flight. And I saw the grandparents' face, and it was like, and in my, as wanting to protect my child, I'm like, you know what I mean? And at the same time, I'm just like, I don't want to put my fear onto him.
Ooh.
I don't want to, whatever this, I gotta witness this. And so I made up in my mind real quick that let me see what his journey is like, which means that if he decides to get back on there, I'm not going to say no. And if he decides that I don't want to swing no more because I'm scared of that swing, I'm not going to say no either. I'm going to create this moment with him. And whatever he decides or chooses, I'm going to be there as well with me in that instant. And I'm not going to allow the other people, because sometimes people can see us do something and we want to validate for those people. I'm not doing it with them neither. I'm going to show up as Mike, whatever Mike is at that present moment, and see what happens, because I want to create something. And sure enough, he jumped up, he looked, and then he looked at me, and then he jumped back. I said, "You still want to swing? Yeah. Okay, let's go." And the other parents were put at ease too. I looked at them and they were like, "Yeah," and everybody started smiling. It's back to the same old thing, right? But this is a present moment. This is a moment that, because we've put in that type of work, brother, I'm gonna go back to that, day in, day out, sometimes whether we felt like it or not, our bodies felt like it or not. And it wasn't, and to me, at least, it wasn't really a forced thing. Like the consistency and the discipline wasn't a forced thing. I'm gonna be honest, it was a joy thing, which I'm focusing on this year. When I leave up out of this, I'm going to have a certain time. You and I are going to create a certain kind of energetic exchange that's going to give me more energy than I had than before this conversation. That's why when we get on here, we're like, "Man, it's good to see you again. You showed up again." Right. You showed up again. You ready to go through this again? It doesn't even. Imagine everything. Like, imagine this was like. Imagine you approach your job like that, or whatever your life like that. Oh man, I have more energy, and the type of energy that I want than I had before that. And that the more energy doesn't mean I'm gonna go out there and run a mile. I'm not that energy. I'm talking about that. I don't even know what the word would be for it, and I possibly don't want to name it, but it's there. All right, that's it, man. Y'all had enough of me. What'd you think, bro? Let's do our statement so we could.
I love it. I love Paul too, and shout out to you. I mean, honestly, taking that time, like the amount of awareness that you had in that moment, the different thoughts that you had cycled through your mind, and then you decided which one you were going to go with. And that was that, I would consider that to be like a high level thought process. And for some, it may not be, right? Some may just be something else. But this is just the way that I would consider that to be. And it's like, this is something that I would teach somebody, right? This is something that you would ascribe to learn. And you talk about the work that was put in, being able to get there. Now you can also do something like that instinctually, but it may have a whole lot to do with, like you were talking about, you are who you are because of Mike 3.9 and Mike 4.0. It's like all of that programming inside of somebody could actually produce what can be considered to be instinctual, but it could still be programming. So not to go all the way out there and just dive into a whole bunch of things. My whole point is that taking that moment to think about possible outcomes and then deciding on how you were going to respond, because you stuck to your response. I use the word decide on how you want to respond. That's powerful, man. You decided no reaction, right? We talk about negotiation. There was no negotiation here. You decided, I'm going to respond based off of how my child responds. You looked at the entire world, like they say in the Bible. The whole world was in an uproar, and they're only really talking about Asia Minor, right? The whole world was looking at you, Mike. All of them, everybody in the entire world, 8 billion people. And really, it was probably like 5 people. But it's like they all were looking at you grandparents, kids, everybody, they want to know, what did this dude, what did this child, what is going on? And then when you responded the way you did and your son responded the way he did, and I would tend to believe that no matter which way the response was, everybody took a sigh of relief. And they're like, okay, we can go on with life. That was a moment for the history books. That was powerful. Paul may have a change in his course of life based off of what happened there and may not even attribute it to that. But you may, 10 years from now, looking at the way Paul responds to pain or distress or challenges, you may have got the chance to see the building blocks, or I don't want to say the foundation, because the foundation may have already been poured, but you may have got a chance to see the pillars set on that foundation that day, or the roof put on that house that day, inside of his mind, inside of his being, inside of his character, the development. You witnessed it right there in my mind's eye. That could have possibly been that very moment. And I think that is that salute to you. A salute to you for using what you have and being that guy at that time. And only time will tell, only life, existence, memories, opportunities, and future experiences will tell just what that really was. And seeing that we do the community beacon so frequently, if somebody actually is going through all of these different videos, they're going to come back to this one day on January 2nd, 2026, new year, new me. And they're going to stop at minute 105 or 7, whatever it was. They're going to hear that, and they're going to see what kind of man Paul is 15 years from now, 18 years from now. And they'll be like, yeah, Mike hit the nail on the head that day. And so did Paul.
Yeah. People, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Yeah, man.
Yeah, I continued blessed and prosperous, loving, peaceful, joyful year. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
Definitely
me too, man.
looking forward to it, man.
I'm elated. Let's do great things.
Yeah. All right, y'all. I told you it was gonna be a banger.
It was for me.
It
was for us.
I told you. Yeah. We told you. Start coming in hot for the year, man. We love you. We'll see you next week. What did I say? God willing and the creek don't rise.
That's it.
Yo, check the mic, 1, 2, Beacon is the name. Lights up the city, ain't playing no games. Joel Simmons and Michael Seville, the vision is clear. Dropping knowledge, conquering all of your fear. Beacon, that's the sound of the future. The main hosts are here, they built the whole structure. Community strong, we rise from the ground, the beacon power up. Yeah, time to look up.